I was a college student working the night shift at a small gas station off a lonely stretch of highway. It wasn't a busy place, just truckers, locals, and the occasional lost traveler stopping in. It was easy money, mostly sitting behind the counter, restocking shelves, and sipping bad coffee to stay awake until dawn. One night, around 2 a.m., a man walked in. Something about him immediately put me on edge. He was tall, maybe in his late 50s, with a gaunt face and pale skin. His clothes were old and tattered, but his eyes were what got me. They were too wide, unblinking, like he was taking in every detail of the store at once. He didn't go to the coolers or the snack aisle like most customers. He just stood by the entrance for a while, staring at me. Then he slowly walked up to the counter, his boots making soft, deliberate thuds on the tile. "Quiet night," he said. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't spoken in a long time. "Yeah," I replied, forcing a polite smile. "Not much traffic this late." He nodded but didn't leave. Instead, he glanced up at the security cameras, then back at me. "They don't always show what you think they do." I wasn't sure what to say to that, so I just gave a short chuckle and looked at the monitor. The cameras showed the empty parking lot, the aisles, the gas pumps. Nothing unusual. The man didn't buy anything. He just stood there, staring at me, until the silence became unbearable. "Do you need anything?" I asked, hoping he'd take the hint. He tilted his head slightly. "You work alone." That set off every alarm in my head. "My coworker's in the back," I lied. "They'll be up front in a second." The man's lips curled into a thin smile. "No, they won't." A cold chill ran down my spine. Before I could respond, the fluorescent lights flickered, buzzing loudly before stabilizing. I glanced at the security monitor again, and for a split second, the screen glitched. The parking lot, which had been empty, now showed a single dark figure standing just outside, facing the door. My stomach dropped. I turned to look outside, but the lot was still empty. The man chuckled softly. "See?" I felt my breath catch in my throat. My hands hovered near the register, ready to hit the emergency button if needed. "You should probably get going," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't move. Instead, he leaned in slightly. "You're not supposed to be here." That was it. I reached for my phone, but the moment my fingers touched it, the power went out. The store was plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the dim glow of the emergency exit sign. My pulse pounded in my ears. I fumbled for the flashlight under the counter and switched it on, the beam cutting through the darkness. The man was gone. The store was silent except for the faint hum of the emergency lights. I reached for the phone again, but there was no signal. My heart raced as I turned to the security monitor, now running on backup power. The screen flickered. The cameras were still showing the store, but something was wrong. The timestamp was frozen. And on the screen, standing in the aisle between the chips and the candy, was the man. But he wasn't there. Not in real life. I shined my flashlight down the aisle. Nothing. The store was empty. But on a monitor, he was still there, standing perfectly still, staring directly at the camera. A sharp knock at the glass door made me jump. My breath hitched as I slowly turned the light toward the entrance. Nothing. Then the knock came again, louder. And then something even worse. My own voice, whispering from just outside the door, "You're not supposed to be here." I wanted to scream. My hands trembled as I grabbed the store keys and backed toward the stockroom. The cameras flickered again. The man's reflection on the screen twisted, his head jerking unnaturally to the side. And then the screen went black. I didn't wait. I bolted to the back, locking myself inside the supply closet. I held my breath, listening. For a few minutes, there was only silence. Then, a slow dragging sound across the floor. The sound of boots scraping against tile. I clutched my phone, refreshing the signal bar over and over. Nothing. The dragging sound stopped right outside the closet door. I squeezed my eyes shut. The handle rattled. My own voice, barely above a whisper, came from the other side. Not supposed to be here. Then, silence. I stayed in there for what felt like hours, barely breathing, waiting for the sun to rise. When I finally worked up the nerve to open the door, the store was empty. The lights were back on. The cameras were working again, but the footage from the last few hours was gone. I quit that morning. Told my manager I wasn't coming back. They didn't ask questions. I think they knew something was wrong with that place. But the worst part, a week later, out of curiosity, I checked the gas station's live security feed online. There, standing behind the counter where I had been, was the man, smiling at the camera.